College football time with Avery Miguel. I am Miguel Mike Medina. This is my partner, Avery Jones. First, we're going to talk about East Carolina versus Army. As you guys can see, I had to wear this is my first time wearing the Army hoodie. I'm representing servicemen and women. Salute to Army, to Navy, Air Force. Um, as I've said before, as I got older, I grew to appreciate them more for what they've done for us, the sacrifice. But this is a great time. Avery, both Army and Navy. Again, they're undefeated. Army is ranked 23rd nationally. I understand that they still need to face more tougher competition. I get all of that, but it's still a beautiful feel good story to see Army with the 6-0 start. They have a coach, Jeff Mankin, who should be considered for who's an early consideration for coach of the year, and this is 39th season. Bryson Daly, 20 touchdowns, 14 of those 20 came with his legs. And but the Black Knights, they lead the nation in rushing, averaging nearly 300 yards per game. And listen to this, Avery. Army and Indiana are the only teams that have not trailed in a game this season. So that's flat out impressive and amazing. Um, but they're gonna go up against East Carolina, which compared to their other opponents will be a little bit much more tougher task, I should say. And East Carolina, they ranked 82nd in the country on offense. They have Jake Garcia, who has 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, though completing 60% of his passes. But obviously, Army is the winner. I mean, the favorites to win this game. I certainly have them winning this game. Their last matchup was October 30th last year, which East Carolina won 38-28. Well, this year's it's crazy what a year difference can make. But I have Army to win this game. Um, Final score though, oof, I must say 35-21 in favor of Army.
Mhm.
Salute servicemen. Avery, take it from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Army has been playing some really great football. They're 6-0, and you're right, they're already qualified for a bowl game, but we want to see how they're going to finish this season. And East Carolina is kind of this opponent that can test the Army Black Knights. And East Carolina, if Jake Garcia can get control of how he throws the ball, those 12 interceptions are what Army is looking at to get their secondary to kind of rattle him. So if Army can get a hold of Jake Garcia and have those early interceptions, that defense can take over, and Army is just going to steamroll over East Carolina. But if they can just play some smart football, stick to the run for a little bit, but once Army gets ahead, I see them kind of taking this game. ESPN has Army at 87% to win this game. So if you've ever wanted to root for a school, and not only this, but this is a service school, knowing that they are a very clear favorite, but granted, we know how Saturdays are. Any Saturday can change it. But I think not only is this a really good test for Army, but they can showcase not just their skills as a football team, but also their skills as a service school. And just like you said, what a year has done for Army, just like what a year has done for East Carolina. East Carolina is a very steady school in the American Conference, but right now they're 3-3. They're kind of just getting by. So I see this as a test for both schools. I see this as a test for Army to see how they can handle the uh, uh the passing offense and the rushing offense of East Carolina. But at the same time, I want to see how East Carolina can handle going to West Point and playing Army. And hey, we said before, when you play at home, that home crowd, can work in your favor. So East Carolina going to West Point to play this game, how is that going to motivate and challenge East Carolina? But I agree with you, Miguel. I'm gonna go with Army on this one, but Army has steadily, once they get out in front, they do not take their foot off the gas. So I like your 35 points, but I'm gonna still go with East Carolina only having like 14. I think that Army is gonna get out in front and they're gonna stay out in front and they're not gonna look back.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention. I'm glad you brought it up that they have scored on the first drive in every game this season. This Army team, they know how to set the tone right from the beginning. And not only offensively, but defensively, they're great as well. They have not allowed more than 14 points in any game this season. So Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, let's see if they can keep this hot streak going. But I hope to see number 7. I hope to see lucky number 7 in the win column. As you can see, you know, I'm loving this hoodie. Once I got this hoodie, I said, you know, I just have no words. I mean, I'm so happy for this team. It's been a long time coming since we've seen this. I'm glad that we're seeing this in our lifetime. And I just hope that both teams just continue to win until that matchup happens. So
I agree.
it's a
I
great
agree.
time. It's a great season for college football so
Absolutely.
far.
Absolutely.
And the next one that we're gonna be talking about is Colorado versus Arizona. When you send me this, Avery, I said, "Ooh, a West Coast matchup." Um, Deion Sanders, Travis Henry, Shador Sanders up against that pesky Arizona team that beat Utah, and they're trying to get into rhythm, Arizona. But this is a fascinating matchup. It intrigues me. So, and what makes it even more exciting is that Travis Hunter, he's expected to play, even though, and you know what kind of season he's having, but he exited with a right shoulder injury, which happened against Kansas State in the second quarter, and he did not return. But according to Deion Sanders, he's gonna play. And as we know, Hunter, he leads Colorado with 49 catches for 587 yards and 6 touchdowns. So without him, Colorado, they don't go nowhere. Um, One would say that they're arguably Sanders and Hunter, arguably the most exciting duo in college football right now. Not the greatest, but I'm saying in terms of the excitement watching them play. One would argue that they could be it. Wide receiver Jimmy Horn also is expected to play in this game. And but anytime, Avery, anytime that we have a homecoming game, is must-see TV. And this game is sold out. It's sold out. And we could be seeing fans wearing red in this game because they'll be playing at Arizona Stadium. So, but let's see. I mean, Arizona has won 2 in a row against Colorado. But again, any Saturday, result could be different. And this is a new season. So, oof, I see this as being close. This is a close game. I have Colorado winning 36-32.
I agree with you. Colorado lost a nail biter to Kansas State last week. It was the score was 31-28. And I agree with you. Coach Sanders has done wonders for this team. Now, granted, they started off strong last year, but the finish just wasn't up to par. Right now, they're doing very well, especially in the Big 12. They're 4-2. That's not too shabby in the Big 12. Arizona is 3-3, but last week they were kind of in control with BYU, and then BYU just steamrolled them after the second half. So Arizona to Colorado, yes, they're playing in Arizona. I see Colorado fans traveling to try and drown out the home crowd. But
Just
the
party.
I tried to wait as long as I could to pick a Colorado game, but I wanted to pick this one especially since Arizona beat Utah a couple weeks ago and their kind of flip-flop game against BYU, which I thought it would be a closer game than what it was. But Colorado has done very well, especially against the run. So look for Colorado. If Arizona is going to try and win this ball, look for Colorado's defense to kind of smash the run for Arizona Wildcats. I think that might help turn the tide. And yes, Travis Hunter did leave the game for Kansas State, but if he's playing, look for him to work both sides of the ball. That Heisman pose, you know, from a few weeks ago when they played against, Central Florida, that could be foreshadowing if he stays healthy. I foresee that. Just like memories of Desmond Howard when he was at Michigan, So I hope Travis Hunter stays healthy. If he does stay healthy and he plays, look for him to be absolutely, phenomenal when he's on the field. And just like you said, granted, they're not the most productive, but yes, Sanders and Hunter, when they're on the field at the same time, they are very exciting to watch. And when these two make plays, it excites the team. And I think that's what's going to work in Colorado's favor going on the road to play Arizona. And Shedeur Sanders, he only has 4 touchdowns right now, and we're like halfway through the season. So this is still good with the 17 touchdowns he's had. So if he can keep those interceptions down, I think that's going to be key for Colorado. But I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I'm going with Colorado. I agree it's probably still gonna be close. But if Colorado runs away with it, they're gonna run away with it at the second half. So I like your score. I'm just gonna get it a little closer. I'm gonna go 34-31, Colorado.
Nice, nice. Not too shabby. Um, wow, that is one of those games that I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see this weekend. Um, and BYU, I mean, shout out to BYU. They're having an impressive season so far. I mean, there's something about these Utah teams, whether it's the pros, whether it's college sports, that it just grabs my attention for some reason. I guess, I mean, that's what I've had a soft spot for small market teams and just teams that don't get too much attention, that it just makes me want to tune in more for them, want me to root for them more. Not that I'm a passionate fan, but like I like to see teams winning. So like, we all have our favorite teams, but then we have other teams that we just want to see them win once in a while. So teams like BYU, the Utah UTs, even though they're going through a very tough week with Cam Rising, he's done. Um, Poor guy, he just can't stay healthy. Year after year is always something. But Utah sports is just something about them that, and it's been that way ever since I got into sports. Like it started with the Utah Jazz. I was fortunate to see, even though they were past the prime, the few late years of the Stockton and Malone era. But it started with the Jazz, and then um, it was mostly with the Jazz, and then when I started getting to college sports with the Utah UTs, BYU. And now we have hockey, which, like I told you before, I'm thankful and grateful that I'm writing for Utah Hockey Club for Fansided. So, and that's been a joy so far. So I like seeing stuff like that, and I like, being part of that and all those things. But I just hope that the city of Utah at some point they're crowned as champions, whether it's the pros or in college sports.
I, I agree with you, Miguel. There's something about the small market, especially like once you get into sports, where just like I said before, like as Americans, we want to root for the underdog. We, those small markets, and us being on the East Coast, we sometimes don't see those West Coast teams. But thankfully, as media has evolved, streaming services has evolved, we now have the option, just like satellite did years ago, for people on the East Coast to be able to see these West Coast teams. And just like in college football, we've seen, the Oregons, the Washingtons, the Cals, the USCs, the Utah, the BYUs, we've seen those games. We know what those teams can do. And even professionally, like for years, we've known about the Los Angeles Lakers of basketball for many, many years, but then seeing them is totally different, especially, us growing up and now seeing what the teams on the West Coast can do, as well as those small markets, even on the East
Even
Coast.
the Midwest
Oh,
teams as well.
absolutely. I mean, Green Bay as a juggernaut in football as it is, Wisconsin in and of itself is a small market. Even if we go back to college football, look at Iowa and Iowa State. I mean, technically small market, but you have very, very great fan bases in that Midwestern area. And I've had been fortunate to visit, Nebraska and Kansas. And let me tell you, when it comes to college football, they love their teams, especially in Kansas. And between Lawrence and and Kansas City, Kansas Jayhawks, Kansas State, they love their Kansas teams. So the fact that we are fortunate, not just as content creators and writers, just as fans, we see how these different areas are 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 showcasing their talent. Like even in my office, I have a manager who loves Oregon. I have another manager who loves Ohio State. I have another manager who loves Penn State. I got my two managers who love, the University of Miami. I have another manager who, granted, he is from Iowa, but he loves repping, his Iowa team. So it's great to see all these schools, you know, showcase their skills, just like we're talking about the service schools. If you're familiar with West Point and Annapolis. Air Force, they're out in Colorado as well. Technically, they're a small market as well. And the fact that we can see them now, high noon, in the afternoon at 4, later probably in prime time, television, as wonky as it is, we've been given the opportunity to see all these schools showcase what they can do. And as college football has evolved, and now with the in, with looking to the future of this 12 playoff, we are going to see some great football. And we've said it when we started this season. Any Saturday is going to be a joy to watch. And trust me, for your BYUs, for your Utahs, for your Arizonas, for your Californias, for your Pitts, any school wants to make a name for themselves, and no better place to do it on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening.